Why does almost everyone, the moment they uncover a fast, glossy black insect curling its tail like a scorpion, react with the same primal flinch and then crush it? Why do we all share that reflex when this creature has no sting, no venom that can hurt you, and is statistically one of the most useful insects ever to walk through a garden? What exactly are we so afraid of? And what have we been killing by the millions in the dark corners of our compost bins? The fear is older than you. Older than your parents. Older, in fact, than the word beetle. In medieval European folklore, any insect that raised its abdomen in a threatening posture was said to be possessed, a tiny scorpion sent up from beneath the soil. In parts of rural Britain, the creature was called the devil's coach horse, a name first recorded in the early 1800s, but rooted in something far older, the belief that if it pointed its tail at you, it could curse your harvest. In Ireland, some versions of the folk tale held that this beetle had once eaten the core of an apple in the Garden of Eden, and so was marked forever with the posture of guilt. Across Scandinavia, similar legends. Across parts of Asia, the same flinch. The fear is global, ancient, and remarkably consistent, which is strange, because the creature has never harmed a human being in any documented way. For more than 200 years, entomologists have been quietly recording something that never quite reached the public. The beetle you are afraid of belongs to a family called Staphylinidae, the ROVE beetles. And Staphylinidae is not a small family. It is, by current count, the single largest family of animals on Earth, with over 66,000 described species and estimates suggesting the true number may exceed 100,000. More species than all the mammals, birds, reptiles, amphibians, and fish on the planet combined, several times over. And nearly every one of them is, by trade, a predator. Here is the uncomfortable part. Even the specialists, the people who have spent their careers inside this family, will tell you they barely understand it. Coleopterists, beetle scientists, openly admit that Staphylinidae is so vast, so behaviorally diverse, and so understudied that new species are described almost every single week. We do not have a complete picture. We have fragments. We have field notes. We have the strange, slowly accumulating realization that the small black insect curling its tail in your compost heap may be doing something we never asked it to do and never thanked it for. Begin with the tail. That scorpion-like curl, the gesture that triggers the flinch. It is, biologically speaking, a bluff. ROVE beetles have no stinger. The raised abdomen is a defensive display borrowed, evolutionarily, from a body that needed to look more dangerous than it was. Some species, when truly threatened, release a mild defensive secretion from glands near the tip of the abdomen, but for the overwhelming majority of species you will ever encounter in a garden, the gesture is theater. A 400-million-year-old performance of menace, and it has fooled humans so completely that we built religions around it. But here's what most people miss. While you are flinching at the tail, the front of the beetle is doing the actual work. ROVE beetles possess unusually large, sharp, forward-facing mandibles, proportionally some of the most powerful jaws in the insect world. And those jaws are designed for one purpose: hunting the soft-bodied larvae of other insects, fly maggots, mite eggs, springtails, the tiny pale grubs that, if left unchecked, would turn your compost bin into a writhing mass within a week. And then, in the early 2000s, agricultural ecologists began publishing something the gardening public never quite absorbed. In compost systems, in manure piles, in the soil layer of greenhouses, ROVE beetles were quietly performing what researchers began calling biological control, natural pest suppression at a scale that, if you tried to replicate it with chemicals, would cost you more than the harvest is worth. One genus in particular, Delosia, formerly known as A. theta, became commercially available as a biological control agent, sold to greenhouse growers specifically because a single beetle can consume dozens of fungus gnat larvae in a day. Your compost has been hired for free. And then, and this is where the story turns strange, entomologists began noticing something about the family's evolutionary range. ROVE beetles are not just predators. Some are scavengers. Some are fungus farmers. Some live exclusively inside the nests of ants and termites, mimicking the chemical signatures of their hosts so precisely that the colony feeds them as if they were family. There are ROVE beetles that ride on the backs of mammals, ROVE beetles that live on the seashore between tides, ROVE beetles that have been found inside caves untouched by sunlight for millions of years. The family is so behaviorally elastic that it has colonized nearly every terrestrial habitat on Earth, and a few that barely qualify as terrestrial. But here's a layer almost no one talks about: the fossil record. ROVE beetles, recognizably modern in form, appear in amber and stone deposits, dating back at least 200 million years, meaning the same body plan, the same raised tail, the same hunting mandibles, were already in operation when the earliest dinosaurs were still figuring out how to be large. The beetle you almost stepped on this morning is the surviving design of a lineage that has outlasted 5 mass extinctions. Crushing it with a garden shoe feels, in that light, almost rude. and then there is the matter of what happens when they are absent. In controlled studies of compost ecosystems, removing ROVE beetles consistently leads to population explosions of fly larvae, particularly the larvae of houseflies and phorid flies, the very insects that turn a quiet compost heap into a backyard nuisance. The beetles are not optional. They are the reason the system works. They are the quiet predators that keep the decomposers from becoming the infestation. I'll be honest, this one shook me. I had to sit with it for days, because I have killed these beetles. I grew up being told that anything fast and shiny and curling its tail in the dirt was something to be feared, and I acted on that instruction without ever questioning it. And the realization when it finally landed was not a clean intellectual one. It was a slow, uncomfortable recognition that for most of my life I had been participating, without consent and without knowledge, in the destruction of the exact organism that was holding my garden together. Multiply that by every gardener, every homesteader, every well-meaning person with a shovel and a flinch reflex, across every continent, for centuries, and the scale of what we have done, and what we have not noticed, becomes difficult to hold. The ROVE beetle did not ask to be feared. It simply inherited a defensive posture that, by accident of evolutionary timing, happened to resemble the silhouette of an animal humans had already decided to hate. And for that resemblance, it has paid an enormous price. There is a final layer worth naming. ROVE beetles do not only patrol compost. Forensic entomologists, the scientists who use insects to estimate time of death at crime scenes, have long relied on ROVE beetles as one of the most reliable indicators in the later stages of decomposition. Different species arrive at different intervals, in a sequence so predictable it can narrow down a timeline to within days. The same beetles that protect your garden are also, in a quieter and more solemn capacity, witnesses for the dead. They are, in a sense, one of nature's record keepers, a family of insects so ancient, so widespread, and so attuned to the cycles of decay that we have built entire forensic protocols around their punctuality. And once you know that, it becomes very difficult to look at a compost bin the same way again. The bin is not a pile of waste. It is a working ecosystem with its own predators, its own patrols, its own internal economy. And the small black beetle curling its tail in the corner is not an intruder. It is the manager. So let me return to the question I opened with. Why does every culture, on every continent, fear the same harmless creature? I don't have a complete answer. Maybe it's the tail. Maybe it's the speed. Maybe it's something older, some inherited pattern recognition in the human brain that flags any small, fast, dark thing as a threat, regardless of evidence. I genuinely don't know. And I'd like to hear what you think. Why do you think we react this way to a creature that has never once earned it? I want to hear your theory. Drop it below. The strangest one gets pinned. Tell me the story of the first time you saw one of these beetles, what you did, and whether you'll do it differently now. I read every comment that comes through, and the best ones often reshape how I think about the next video, because the next question we'll ask is even older. And the answer was hiding in your grandmother's garden the whole time. Something she walked past every single morning. Something she may have even pulled out of the soil with her bare hands, and never realized it had been quietly running an operation more sophisticated than anything we've engineered. I'll see you there.